Again, this is going to be the first stage of Project 4. Now, in Project 4, we address consistency and navigation. Now, consistency, we'll start there. There's a couple of different ways we can apply consistency. One is using style sheets, and we've done that in the past. Another is using a theme. And a third is using master pages. Now, a master page, some may look at it like, oh, it's a template, and everything is created based on that template. Well, I don't tend to agree with that perspective in that style sheets aren't a template, and a master page works much like a style sheet works. Now, in our master page, we're going to define a specific layout that all the pages will include. So let's start out. We're going to right-click on our programming folder that we've created, our application, and let's add, we're going to add a new folder. Let's call this folder Master Pages. Now, I create a folder because I may have more than one, and I like to keep everything as organized as we can. Now, in our master pages, we're going to right-click. Let's add a new item. And the system will auto-populate these choices for us. Now, I'm using VB. C# will look just like this. So now, here's my initial master page. Now, a master page, it's much like any other web page. Now, we look at it. It looks much like another web page would look. We've got our head, we've got our body, and we've got a placeholder within a div on this body. And that's where we're going to do our work. Now, what we want is we want to break up this body into different areas. We've got our div, and now let's give our div an ID. We'll call it page wrapper. Okay. And within this div, let's start out, and before we have our content placeholder, the content placeholder, that's where our actual page content will go. Everything outside of that content placeholder is our standardized layout. Everything within that content placeholder is going to be the content pulled from the actual web pages within our site. All right. So let's start out, and we'll create a header. All right, and within our header, let's put a little bit of text and say header goes here. So that way when we see it on the page, we know that the header actually exists right there. Now below the header, let's put a little nav menu. So we'll put a nav section. say the nav menu goes here. We've got our placeholder, and let's change the name. Well, let's leave it the same. We'll call it content placeholder 1. Or let's call it main content. Okay. So that's our content placeholder, and the ID is main content. So we recognize that's the main content for the page. Okay. Now let's skip down after that content placeholder. Let's put an aside in there. And we'll give it an ID. We'll call it sidebar. We'll go ahead and close the tag out, and we'll say the sidebar goes here. So we see exactly where that sidebar is. We'll come down and let's add a footer at the bottom of our page. And just like we did before, we'll say footer goes here. Okay. Now, let's go look at the design of the page. So, as we look at it, we see our header. It's right here, header goes here. We see our nav menu, or nav bar that we're going to place in there. And then we see the sidebar. Got the footer down at the bottom. And this rectangle that's highlighted purple is clearly labeled as main content. And for this exercise, that's where the main content from the other pages will go. So, if this is our master page, and we want to associate other pages with this master page, let's create a default page and associate it with this master page. So, come over, right click, add, and I can add a web form. Let's go add a new item. Now let's make it a web form. Now, I want a web form that's associated with a master page. So I've selected it. Add master pages. And here's that master that we created. Master page.master. So now, as I look at my default web page, I've got head that's coming in from my master, and I've got content placeholder. So if I go look at it in design view, now we didn't see any of this before, but we've got it all laid out. It's all standardized. So with this, I can create multiple pages, and if when I create those pages, I point over to this master, and the master has been laid out the way that I want all my pages to be laid out, then all the pages will have that same look and feel. We're going to take it a step further in the next segment, and we'll add some style. with style sheets, and we'll add some themes to it as well. So at this point, we've created a master. It has a footer, it's got a sidebar and a side, it's got a nav section, and it has a header. Okay. So I'll see you in the next step, but at this point we're just going to take it piece by piece.